Good afternoon, actually, on Friday, the 30th of June. Uh, was a little busy this morning, so couldn't get the video put together, but now I am taking time to get it out to you. Um, and this is actually still my first look at the pitching for the slate. We have a is it 12 gamer. Yep, looks like a 12 game main slate. And pitching is kind of a dumpster overall. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the pitching on the slate, especially for a 12 gamer, but we can only do what we got and work with what we have in front of us. So let's take a look. Shane McClanahan, one of my favorite pitchers in baseball, uh, have some worries. He did leave his last start with some lower back issues. He wanted to stay out. The team took him out anyways. Uh, so there's some worries there, but he does have 7 days rest coming in. Seattle strikes out a ton on the season. It's a great matchup. Game total just 7.5. Tampa Bay is a -135 road favorite. Uh, so as long as we are okay with the risk of a potential back issue popping up again, I think McClanahan's probably far and away the top option for us on this slate. Paxton has been rough on the road, rougher, I guess, um, but still overall not too bad. I actually think he's a viable option for us against Toronto. Toronto doesn't strike out a ton overall, but they are one of the weakest lineups against left-handed pitching on the season, which is kind of weird to say when you look at that lineup. You see a lot of guys that you would think can crush left-handed pitching, but for whatever reason, they just do not with the power stroke. So I think Paxton is certainly viable, which kind of goes against Vegas a little bit because Toronto is a -140 favorite, and the game has a total of 9. My favorite pitching matchup on the slate actually is Pablo Lopez uh, taking on Dean Kramer in Baltimore. Lopez has been great on the road. Home run rate is a little higher on the road, but that's all right. In this park against right-handed hitters, it's the toughest park in baseball to hit home runs as a right-handed hitter. His strikeouts have been really strong, which kind of offsets some of the runs he's given up. The Twins are an underdog. Baltimore is just a -120 favorite. Uh, so I really like Pablo Lopez, and I really like Dean Kramer down here at 8,100 favored against a team that strikes out a lot. Home runs are an issue, as you notice. 2+ home runs allowed in 3 out of his last 4 starts. Ks aren't super strong. They're there. But this matchup gives him upside for more strikeouts. So I'm very intrigued at 8,100. Freddie Peralta is going to be in play for me, but God, he's just not the same pitcher on the road, and that worries me. He is a -140 favorite, so definitely an option for us. Uh, was strong against the Pirates earlier this year with strong K numbers. Uh, K upside is there, so for GPP wise, definitely in play. I just don't think he's super safe. Barrios at home, I already mentioned that he's a favorite. Struggled against Boston the one time he faced them, but he's been so good at home. Uh, has had a couple hiccups recently, but I do think he's in play. Uh, I'm not in love with it and don't plan to go super heavy. But if I had to guess, I'd probably be about a 20% play for me on DraftKings tonight. John Gray's not going to make my pool. I just don't really want to pick on Houston necessarily. I know some people are going to play him, and I'm not going to argue against doing that because I do think he is solid enough. Um, hasn't been as strong at home, but that's all right. K numbers are higher at home, which is something we definitely look for. But I think I'm going to skip John Gray tonight against Houston and look at using both Millers. Bryce Miller against a tough Tampa Bay squad. There are worries. He's been so strong at home. Like I mentioned, he is just a slight underdog at home. So I like the upside. Uh, Hasn't flashed a ton of Ks recently, but Tampa Bay can strike out, and the overall lineup for Tampa Bay has been struggling a bit. Uh, so I think he's somebody that we can get at pretty low ownership tonight. That offers enough upside. Big fan of Bobby Miller. He's been great on the road. Two bad starts in a row does have me a little worried. And I believe the weather in Kansas City is super hot. Yeah, it's mid to upper 90s. Um, so, there's some worries there, but I like the matchup against the Kansas City offense for Bobby Miller. I think he's a solid option. Not somebody I'm going to go super heavy on. I would guess probably a 30 to 40% play for me, but I haven't had a chance to look and come up with rough projections for percentages yet. Uh, Cobb coming off of a rehab start against a struggling Mets squad. Nine strikeouts and 3 2/3 in his rehab start. Very interesting. Just not sure if he's going to throw more than 80 pitches, which can be a worry. But I think he's an option for us on the slate just based on the Mets' offensive struggles. He is a minus 135 favorite. The wind is blowing out slightly, uh, so it is going to be pretty good hitting weather, but uh, Cobb is one that could certainly get it done for us. Now I can be interested in Canning against Arizona. I already mentioned Kramer, and Osvaldo Bido might be an option for us. Has been solid in his three starts at the major league level. We know we've been picking on the Brewers with pitching, so I might have to be on him, sorry, in the spot, just because I constantly pick on the Brewers. If he was left-handed, I would definitely be on him in the spot. Luis Severino, I don't think I'm going to get there. I think it is super hot in St. Louis again with winds blowing out. I don't really want to gamble with him. I know he's coming off a strong start against a tough Texas squad. Um, he is priced pretty invitingly. He is a minus 115 favorite, but the total is approaching 10 at this point. I don't think I'm going to end up on Severino. Soroka uh, taking on Miami. Great matchup. He looked terrible at the major league level in his return, uh, but after being options, he lit it up in AAA. So I think he's coming back from multiple Achilles injuries, so it may take him some time. But at 7,100, I am very intrigued. He's a minus 190 favorite. Total is up at 10 right now, but Soroka is definitely interesting for me at 7,100 in this matchup. I don't really think there's a ton to like down here. Tommy Henry maybe, but I doubt I want to go there against the Angels on the road. Uh, he's been worse on the road. Isn't a huge K guy, uh, so I don't really think we can go there. I might end up going to the pitchers in Coors, which is really shocking to say. It's actually going to be in the mid 60s with winds blowing in Colorado. Uh, Maybe we can get solid games out of Lorenzen and Gomber. I would I would lean Gomber just because he used to pitching in that, but I think Lorenzen probably has more upside than Gomber does right now. So, uh, you know, initially they're both going to make my pool, and that's going to be scary. Gomber's been atrocious this year in Coors, but 2 years ago he was great in Coors and terrible on the road. So I'm gonna, really debate Coors pitching on this slate. Uh, Mid 60s in Colorado is fairly cool at this point with 11-mile-an-hour winds blowing in. So I think we just need to consider them. It is scary. It is dangerous. Carrasco probably not going to make my pool. Just hasn't been showing K upside. I know San Francisco does strike out, so there is some upside there, but I just don't know if I can go there. Uh, Medina, maybe. Maybe I can talk myself into it as the day goes on. The White Sox aren't a super potent offense, but if I remember correctly, Medina is kind of a reverse splits guy, and the White Sox have a bunch of right-handed hitters that have upside. And obviously, seeing 7 walks in his last start, the walks are a big issue. So the more I think about it, the more likely I am to be off of a guy like Medina. Uh, Tanner Banks, probably just going to be a short inning guy, unless we hear that he's going to be a regular starter. Talk about Alec Marsh, min priced. I'm just not going to do it. He hasn't been good in the minors this year. Taking on the Dodgers. Now, I know we talk about the Dodgers coming, their teams coming out of series in Coors, um, and that's generally the case. It's tougher to think that's the case with a team like the Dodgers, who are used to playing in Coors, and the fact that it's going to be approaching 100 degrees in Kansas City tonight. I don't know that that's going to change things. I think their offense is going to stay rolling. Um, but I can understand the argument the other way. So there we have it. Kind of an odd pitcher pool. There's definitely guys at the top we want. A couple guys in the middle that I'm pretty heavy on in comparison to others. But there isn't a ton to be super confident, jam in, and just expect 20 to 25 DK points from on this slate. If you enjoy what I bring to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on, get that alert anytime we drop videos here at DFS Army. And if you want to join us, I will put links in the description below. You can use promo code RAZ, that's RAZ, for 10% off your monthly membership, or Summer50 for 50% off your first month with us. And as always, best of luck, everybody.